The world was blindsided by the shocking events surrounding Malcolm-Jamal Warner's sudden death. What was initially believed to be just another tragic loss has now unraveled into something far more devastating. Hours before his passing, a series of gut-wrenching revelations came to light. A leaked voicemail, a sobbing confession, and a final phone call exposed the heart-wrenching truth. It wasn't just the loss of a man, it was the collapse of deep, emotional bonds that had lasted for decades. As the world tried to come to terms with his death, even deeper heartbreak emerged, with the two people closest to Malcolm, Tempestt Bledsoe and Phylicia Rashad, playing significant roles in this final chapter. A voicemail from Malcolm's phone, faint and trembling, revealed his painful farewell. "Tell Tempestt I forgive her. Claire, I'm ready." With those words, he was saying goodbye, leaving behind a whirlwind of unanswered questions. Tempest's voice, barely audible through her tears, confessed a painful truth. "If you forgive me, maybe I'll never forgive myself." She was burdened by her silence, the weight of her actions hanging heavy. And then, Phylicia Rashad, the woman who had played his mother on screen and in real life, broke her silence after years of carrying his pain. The truth was darker and more complicated than anyone imagined. Malcolm, a man so many believed had everything, had quietly been falling apart, and now, the world was discovering just how deep the betrayal ran. It wasn't just a death, it was a breakdown of everything he had believed in. Malcolm's final days were marked by isolation and abandonment, and though he had given everything to those around him, there was no one left to stand by him when it mattered most. Just hours before his passing, a shift occurred. Malcolm was spotted in a rare public moment, his face twisted in sadness as he faced an ending he couldn't escape. The truth started unraveling after a 2-minute audio clip surfaced online, where Tempest's voice, broken and raw, confirmed that everything had changed. "I told him I was done lying," she confessed. "He asked if I ever loved him, and I didn't answer." Her silence, her inability to respond, became the final blow, and as fans listened, they realized that everything they thought they knew about Malcolm had just been shattered. The story only grew more haunting. Just after Tempest's confession, Phylicia Rashad revealed that Malcolm's last moments had been filled with a grief no script had prepared her for. As she visited him that night, she saw something in his eyes that no one else had seen. He wasn't acting. He was gone. Her words to him were soft, trembling with emotion. "Some lights burn so quietly, you don't know they've gone out until you're left in the dark." Those words would be his final message to the world. He had given everything, and now, in his last moments, he wanted peace. What really happened behind the scenes, though, was more complicated. Insiders revealed that just 3 nights before his death, Malcolm had a private conversation with Tempestt. It wasn't one filled with love or understanding. It was cold, tense, and filled with unspoken regret. Tempestt was seen gripping his wrist, pleading with him, but he pulled away, emotionless, walking off without a word. That would be the last time anyone saw him in public. As the night wore on, Malcolm drove home alone, leaving behind a trail of memories and unspoken pain. A blocked call to Phylicia Rashad came in, and when she listened to the voicemail, she heard Tempest's voice, shaking, broken. It was clear. The betrayal was real. "I couldn't carry both of us anymore," Tempestt whispered. That was the moment everything broke. The trust, the love, the bond they had once shared, it was gone. The aftermath was devastating. A voice memo from Malcolm, discovered after his passing, was labeled "For the ones I never got to say goodbye to." In it, he speaks of his childhood, of the woman who had protected him, Phylicia, and even says, "Tell Tempestt I forgive her. Claire, I'm ready." Those were the final words of a man who had spent his life giving to others but had been left alone in his darkest hours. Phylicia Rashad, who had carried him like a mother, chose to keep the recording private, respecting his peace. But the world wasn't ready for peace. The voicemail went viral, and the internet exploded. Fans were outraged, searching for answers. Why did Tempestt leave? Why did it take Malcolm's death for the truth to come out? People wanted to know how someone so loved had been left to suffer in silence for so long. The questions kept piling up, and the story of betrayal, heartache, and tragedy continued to unfold. Phylicia, the one person who truly understood his pain, was the only one left to carry the truth. She had protected Malcolm's privacy for so long, but now, with the world's questions growing louder, she was left to answer them. The pain in her eyes when she spoke about him was palpable, and as fans watched the drama unfold, they realized that this wasn't just a tragedy, it was a collapse of everything Malcolm had ever known. And with each new revelation, it became clearer. The world wasn't ready for the truth. But the story doesn't end here. There's still more to uncover, more to learn, and more pain to process. Fans continue to demand answers, seeking closure for the man who was once their beloved TV son, the boy who grew up in front of the world. And as for Tempestt and Phylicia, they are left to carry the weight of a story that will haunt them forever. The world was stunned when Malcolm-Jamal Warner's sudden death hit the headlines, but no one was ready for what came next. Just hours before his passing, an unsettling voicemail and a cryptic letter started to surface, shaking everything that fans thought they knew. Malcolm had left a message for those closest to him, one that shattered the image of a man who had it all. His final words, hidden until now, were revealing. "I loved her more than I loved myself." Maybe that was the mistake, he confessed. The world stopped. Was this a suicide? Was it heartbreak? Was it betrayal? People were left wondering if the pain he had carried all this time was too much to bear. Malcolm had been a quiet man in the final days of his life, stopping all communication, pulling away from the world. He hadn't eaten for days, barely left his apartment, and was seen staring at the walls, waiting for something, or someone, that never came. His sister later shared that he would whisper her name in the quiet hours of the night, as if hoping she would somehow return. And yet, Tempestt, the one person he had once been closest to, remained silent. Then, late one evening, a voice note surfaced, a voicemail Malcolm had left for Tempestt just 2 days before his death. His voice, weak and trembling, spoke in a hushed tone, barely audible over the waves crashing in the background. "If I die tomorrow, just tell the truth. Don't protect your image. Don't run from the hurt you caused. I'm not asking you to love me. Just stop pretending you didn't." The internet exploded. Fans were devastated, realizing they had never known the true extent of his pain. Celebrities flooded social media with their tributes, but the questions remained. What happened between Tempestt and Malcolm that led him to this point? Then, Phylicia Rashad, the woman who had been like a mother to him, went live, sharing her own haunting recollection of his final days. "Malcolm told me something a few months ago that I've kept to myself until now," she revealed. "Even the ones who love you like a mother can't tell who's crying for the soul and who's crying for the spotlight." In that one sentence, Phylicia confirmed what many had suspected. Malcolm's pain had been overlooked by the very people who claimed to care for him the most. It wasn't just physical exhaustion, it was emotional, spiritual decay. The man had been slowly unraveling, and the person who could have saved him walked away. The internet wasn't ready for what came next. A hospice nurse who had worked near Malcolm's Costa Rican villa that night revealed chilling details. According to her, a private ambulance was called, but when paramedics arrived, Malcolm was still alive, barely breathing, conscious, but hanging on. His final words to the paramedics were chilling. "Tell Tempestt I forgive her. Claire, I'm ready." He wasn't just asking for forgiveness, he was letting go of the pain that had consumed him for so long. Tempestt finally broke her silence, posting on Instagram with a simple black screen and a heart-wrenching message. "He told me I was the only one who could have saved him. I didn't even try." The floodgates opened. Fans began to process the truth, creating tribute videos, posting memorial murals, and sharing their grief. It wasn't just about a celebrity death. It was about the pain of losing someone who had spent his life giving to the world, only to be left to suffer alone in his final moments. Meanwhile, Phylicia Rashad, who had always protected Malcolm's privacy, spoke out in private conversations, revealing that she had been trying to reach him for days before his death. "Please don't go without talking to me. I feel it, Malcolm. I feel something's wrong," she had texted him. There was no response. He had already shut everyone out. When he went missing in Costa Rica, no one knew what was going on, and now, questions about his death were being raised. Was it really an accident? Or was it something darker? The timeline of events started to unravel. Reports initially said Malcolm had drowned trying to rescue his daughter, but a whistleblower from the Costa Rican resort staff came forward with a chilling account. According to the source, Malcolm had walked onto the beach alone, sat for almost an hour, and then slowly entered the water. There was no panic, no rescue attempt, just surrender. The word surrender reverberated through the investigation, suggesting that Malcolm might have given up, his last act not a rescue but a final retreat into the water, ending the pain that had consumed him. The emotional fallout from this revelation hit close to home. Tempestt, devastated by the news of Malcolm's final moments, collapsed at a private memorial service. "He still loved me," she wept. "Even after everything, he forgave me." But the real shock came when Phylicia refused to sit beside her during the service. A source close to the family claimed that there was too much resentment, too much blame, to allow for any kind of peace. What had once been a family was now fractured beyond repair. The Cosby Show family, once the epitome of unity, was now at war, with everyone pointing fingers. A secret group chat, leaked anonymously, revealed cast members questioning who knew what about Malcolm's struggles. One message read, "We all let him fade into the background. And when he came back, it was already too late." As the world watched this tragedy unfold, even Malcolm's daughter, staying away from the spotlight, asked the questions no one else dared to. "Why did Daddy go in the water alone?" she wondered. The official story was full of holes, and fans began demanding a new investigation. The #JusticeForMalcolm exploded online, with millions of people calling for transparency and answers. Was his death truly an accident? Or was it something far darker, something no one could have predicted? Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death was more than a loss, it was a wake-up call. A life that had been lived under the spotlight, now overshadowed by unanswered questions and unresolved pain. Fans, family, and friends continue to search for the truth, and one thing is clear: the story is far from over. Stay tuned for more revelations as the truth comes to light. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments, we want to hear from you. Was this just an accident, or was there something more behind Malcolm's tragic end? Stay with us for more updates as this story continues to unfold.